thing to catch a wave. It's another to ride one for what seems like a mile or two before kicking out. A unique set of conditions came together recently at Britain's longest waterway. This is the River Severn. It stretches about 180 miles across western England and Wales, and it's where a tidal bore occasionally occurs. That's when a fast-moving wave from a strong sea tide pushes into a river, going against the current and potentially carrying kayakers and surfers along with it. The cold water didn't stop around a dozen people here from catching what might be the biggest tidal bore of the year, according to local media. It's probably not the largest wave they've surfed in terms of height, but one that takes them this far is thanks to a unique phenomenon of nature. Happy Pi Day! If you don't know what that means, ask your math teacher. I'm Carl Azuz. A trio of U.S. headlines are next on The World from A to Z. First, the stage is set for a rematch. In the blue corner, incumbent Democratic President Joe Biden. And in the red corner, Republican former President Donald Trump. These two candidates from the 2020 presidential election have won enough delegates in this year's primaries and caucuses to face each other again on the ballot this November. Candidates are officially nominated at their party conventions, which take place over the summer. Second, the House of Representatives has passed a bipartisan bill concerning TikTok. It would require the app to either be sold to an American company or to be banned across America. President Biden has said he would sign the bill, but it would have to pass in the Senate first, and it's not clear if that'll happen. Details about this bill can be found on Tuesday's show at worldatz.org. Third, the Dollar Tree Company announced Wednesday that it would close 1,000 Family Dollar stores across America. That's about 12% of all the Family Dollar stores nationwide. The closures will happen over the next few years. The discount chain has faced numerous challenges, including management problems, unacceptable conditions in some stores, and inflation, the higher than normal rise in prices that's occurred in recent years.
World in knowledge. Most of the world's acai berries come from what country? Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil. Known as the guardian of the Amazonian population, most acai berries are harvested in Brazil.
In Brazil, it's been said that those who can harvest acai will never go hungry. But child labor is commonly used to do that. It's a way to bring in much-needed income to impoverished families, but it comes with risks, both to children's education and their lives.
It's the middle of the night on the banks of the Amazon River. But the young workers of the Fazendinha village are already loading up for a day's work. Lucas, at 13 years old, is still waking up. On top of school, he says he's been picking acai for 2 years now, helping his older brother Wengelston feed their 7 siblings. By dawn, we reach the Marajó archipelago in the far north of Brazil, crossing state lines to Pará, the world capital of acai.
Amidst this lush vegetation are hundreds and hundreds of acai trees. These are these tall palms that can get up to 70 feet tall.
From 2012 to 2022, acai exports grew 21,000%, according to industry data. More than 8,000 tons were exported in 2022, moving more than $26 million. But Lucas will only get a fraction of that number. And to earn it, he will do grueling work and face the dangers of the jungle. Hiding in the forest are deadly snakes, scorpions, and jaguars. And then there's the climb. With no harness, Lucas will climb dozens of acai trees on a single day in search of ripe berries. In these remote areas of the jungle, rescue can be hours away. The stories of harvesters who've fallen from trees are numerous. Some have never walked again, or worse.
When was the first time you got up on an acai tree?
11 anos.
He was 11 years old, he says. The money he makes, he says, he gives to his mom, who in turn gives him back a smaller portion. What do you use your money for, I asked. to buy my school supplies, he said. Families are risking their children's lives to get a paycheck, community leader Nerivan Silva says.
It's out of need and not having food on the table. This practice is inherited, passed down from father to son, but it's too dangerous. At the same time, it's our tradition that we've been doing for more than 100 years.
The cycle of child labor here can be broken, he says, but they need help, incentives to get children to stay in school.
Come see the culture where the acai comes from, because more often than not, people have no idea how much work it is for us to get it to your table.
Julia Vargas Jones, Marajó Islands, Brazil.
On this date in world history. March 14, 1964 was the first time U.S. viewers got to see a courtroom verdict broadcast on television. Jack Ruby was found guilty of murdering Lee Harvey Oswald, the man who'd been accused of killing President John F. Kennedy. 2 days after Kennedy's assassination, Oswald was being escorted to a county jail when Ruby came up and shot him. Ruby appealed his conviction and was granted a new trial, but he died of a heart problem before it began. On March 14, 1967, President Kennedy's body was moved a short distance at Arlington National Cemetery so a more secure eternal flame could be installed near it. Also on this date, the FBI put out its 10 most wanted fugitives list for the first time. That was in 1950. Thomas James Holden was the first of 532 fugitives to make the list so far. The agency says 494 of them have been located. In a recent report by the Pew Research Center, half of American parents say they've looked through their teenagers' smartphones. That was one finding of a survey conducted last fall, which also learned that 40% of teens and parents say they regularly argue over phone time. Here are some other highlights.
In the midst of discussions of the potential harm of social media use to teens' mental health, a survey from the Pew Research Center found some teens dialing back their use.
About 4 in 10 have cut back on their social media use, and about a third say that they've cut back on the time that they spend on their smartphone.
Monica Anderson, director of Internet and Technology Research for Pew, said teen girls, who other studies have indicated may face particular social media risks to mental health and body image, are also more likely than teen boys to set limits. The survey also found teens mindful of their parents' screen time and how it impacts family interactions.
We asked teens to assess how often their parent was distracted when they're trying to have a conversation with them, and nearly half of teens said that this happens at least sometimes.
Still, many parents said it's a priority to keep tabs on their teen screen time, with both parents and teens equally likely to say they argue sometimes about when it's time for teens to put the phone down. And with all of the talk of the negative impact of smartphones and social media use on teens, about 2/3 of teens themselves, according to the Pew survey, say the benefits outweigh the risks, allowing them to pursue hobbies and be a little bit more creative.
Who's watching today? Let's take a peek and see. That's Pekin like the city of Illinois, home of Pekin Community High School, where Mrs. Gresham's, Mrs. Otten's, and Mrs. Wooten's classes are watching. Next to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, big hello to Mr. Henning's class. Great to see y'all at Whittier Middle School. Traffic on a California highway was recently clogged up by a large spill of toilet paper. If this had happened at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, police probably would have had a lot more help. The California Highway Patrol says this is 3 boxes worth of TP that tumbled out of a pickup truck earlier this week. That added up to hundreds of rolls that took officers about 10 to 15 minutes to clear from the roadway. We doubt the driver got away scot-free. He probably felt pretty quilty about it, and the cleanup was anything but a charming assignment. But while cars had to slow their roll, TP is never really useless. It made for an ultra-soft commute, extra plush even when unflushed, and it caught and elevated the bathroom humor of traffic getting backed up. I'm Carl Azuz with a soft and strong roll of puns on the world from A to Z, and we hope to see you again on Friday.